Wow, that's something that I never thought would happen. I managed to bag myself an interview with Laurie from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels. So that this will be after I've done this. Laurie is a super nice guy from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels. If you haven't watched his channel, which he went viral quite a while ago. Well, not quite a while ago, but yeah. He is currently the biggest YouTuber that I've had on my channel. Let me just have a look at how many subscribers he's got. I think he's got about 20,000. Yeah, 26,000. Oh my god. So I've been a subscriber of Laurie since he bought his. Well, since he bought his Ruston 48. Mate, I'm so excited. So it's the day before. I'm going to be doing it tomorrow. So we'll have this camera set up, and we're gonna be on call with him for a while. So yeah, I can't wait. Oh, if you're new here as well, obviously subscribe. But yeah, on to the interview. Right, what's going on, guys? Binkz here, and today I have a special guest that I am interviewing today. His name is Laurie, and he's from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels, and he's got 26,000 subscribers from the time of recording, which is the 14th of May. So yeah, let's get straight down to the interview. Laurie, hello.
Hello there. Thanks for having us on. How are you doing
No
today?
worries. I'm alright. I'm alright. How's the old pandemic doing for you?
I'm actually enjoying it. It's really nice to have some downtime. I've been playing with things. I've been playing with model railway stuff that I've got here. I've been playing with Lego Technic. We've been doing some Lego related stuff on the channel, which, depending on when you release this, may or may not have already come out. So yeah, we've been doing quite good stuff. There's been, because of our Discord, we've got a very nice community going on where we've been talking to a lot of our community, chatting to those guys, and also the main team's able to communicate and share ideas and projects. So I'm not sure how we're going to go back to normal life actually, because we seem to be doing quite well. But yeah, quite good.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that we need to do, and you know that work thing is quite important. I'm pretty sure I need to get back to at some point. But yeah, it's been quite nice. It's been nice to actually catch up and have a little bit of downtime and yeah, actually get some sleep.
Most definitely. Yeah. I feel about 20 years younger now.
I've been working on an edit recently, and it's been a big pain. I've been searching through a load of footage that goes way back in not so much the channel's history, but my own history, looking for things to, oh, I know somewhere I visited this railway, or I did this, and I know I've got a picture or a video of it. And it's just taken so much time, and I've kind of woke up the last few days being like, this is how I used to feel when I was working. I was tired, I've done too much, I've been sat on trying to, I've done it a couple of nights, I've been sat at the computer and looked outside, and it's getting light, I probably should go to bed now. So
Yeah.
Apart from that, it's been lovely because I've been able to relax and take my time with some of the projects. Because normally, as working a day job as well as doing the channel, you've got to try and factor in going to work, coming home, getting the edit done. Whereas this has been quite nice. It's been like edit a little bit, stop for a bit, probably should get on the edit, It's just been really nice and relaxing. So yes, fearing real life, and also we can't go outside, which is a big problem. So most of our content, for those of you who watch our channel know, and if you don't, we do cars and trains in real life and fire engines and things. So that all involves going outside, and as we can't really do that at the moment, we are somewhat limited on what we can do on the channel. So yeah, how have you been coping? Have you enjoyed being indoors? Have you had stuff to keep you amused, or?
I've been all right, I guess. I've I've been doing bits here and there, just the odd stuff, but most of the time I've been staying inside doing nothing.
There's a lot of there seems to be quite a big split. Like lots of people at home going, not really doing stuff, and then some other people seem to be very busy, and there doesn't seem to be any split in the middle. It's either terribly busy or doing nothing. Although I have seen a lot of people have been doing this kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of model railways suddenly appear, and people have been discussing the idea of building model railways. So suddenly, like, I've got a model railway now.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Right, so we'll get into let me just turn Amazon and Alexa off because getting in the way. Yeah, okay, got it, cool. Off you go, bye-bye. Right, so if you want to know what it was like before the YouTube era, Laurie is currently making a video about the time before when. So if you want to know about how he started YouTube, when he started YouTube, how he got into railways, what he did before LMM, anything like that, then he is making a video. Go and watch it on his channel. It may be out by the time I release this, it may be not. Just keep an eye out. I'll link his channel in the description anyway.
It might be out this weekend that we're filming, if I finish it in time. This is the aforementioned video that's taken forever. It's a lot of old footage that I've been digging up. We did, for 25,000 subscribers, we did a question and answer session of some of our viewers asked us questions, and we answered them. And so I warn you, it's a very long one about me. There were lots of questions, and I have a tendency to ramble on about things. So it's a long video.
Excellent. Right. So the YouTube era. Let's talk YouTube.
Right.
So when did you first appear on YouTube? When was your first appearance?
I mean, doing something big was when I started with JM on Cars. I mean, I used to muck around and shoot little things and stick it onto YouTube. I did a video on GTA San Andreas, I think, when I was still in high school, or sixth form, of how to dump your girlfriend, and it was take her for a ride in a helicopter and then get out of the helicopter with a parachute and blah blah blah. And that was like the first video I ever did that did, thousands upon thousands of views, mostly negative comments, but that wasn't me. But before that, we did a couple of things that went up, but never really watched by anybody. The first real thing was, of course, being part of JM on Cars, where he bought himself a Lotus Evora, which is a very nice car, and I started being his cameraman. And so through that, the odd appearance started creeping up, and me being in the background of stuff or picking up. And I guess the first time it really went big is the video that blew up and got JM on Cars on the map. Was we went and bought together a MG ZS. It's the 180 with the V6 in it, and it's a terrible video. I mean, JM was worked in the film industry as a director of photography, a DOP, like top end photographer, cameraman, the guy who tells the cameraman what to do. And he used to really pride himself on the quality of his videos, and this one is awful. It's basically filmed on a mobile phone of us going around this MG that we've just bought and being like, we've made a terrible mistake, it's awful. And that did like 300,000 views, and that's the first kind of big video. And from then on, I was like talking to Joe and going, we should really do this buddy thing more, because people enjoyed the buddy thing. And it happened occasionally, but it wasn't ever a huge part of JM's channel. JM's channel was always the cars first and the buddy stuff second. Which I guess is one of the things that we've brought over to LMM, is the buddy thing of me and the rest of the team, rather than so much the content that we're working on. But that was the big thing, and then I think I had a couple of my own feature episodes. We went and picked up my first MR2, and that was quite lorry heavy, and also picking up my second fire engine. That was quite a lorry heavy episode. Oh, I'll tell you what, the first video we did, I think, was before I joined him on YouTube. He'd had his Evora 2 weeks, and buying his Evora was the beginning of his channel. And sure, it was 2 weeks, and he invited me to come have a drive of it. That was my first appearance, and I drove the Evora, bearing in mind the cars that I'd actually owned at this time to give me credentials to drive this £80,000 sports car, which was brand new, was a Peugeot 106 and a Dennis RS fire engine. That was what it was, and then I drove this lovely sports car. And it kind of went from there. So yeah, I think that was my first appearance.
Oh, very good, very good. Do you watch YouTube at all? Do you like watch other channels? What channels do you watch?
I don't really watch YouTube. There's kind of this thing within the YouTube community. Quite a few of us who create don't really get the time to watch. There's the odd kind of videos that I'll come across, like watching stuff that I'm into. But religiously in channels that I really pay attention to aren't really that much. I know a lot of the team watch a bit more than, a lot of them particularly, they're interested in things like Project Binkz and following the progress on that because that is cool. And of course we keep eyes on people that we've worked with and people we like, so keep an eye on what JM on Cars is doing. And Ian Seabrook over at Hubnut, we have a look at him, and Matt with Furious Driving are a couple of the big channels, or bigger channels and the ones that are kind of close to what we do. But for religiously following, not really. I mean, when we're doing normal life, as I said, working the job and doing this, it's come home, edit, go to sleep, go to work, come home, edit, go to sleep. There isn't much downtime to actually watch YouTube. I don't watch TV, I don't get the opportunity to do it. So occasionally I watch Sam Strain's if he's reviewing something that I'm interested in on Model Railway Frontier, but that's generally that's normally that's interesting, flick, that was a good bit. He does very good reviews, but frankly most of the time I just don't have the time. It's like, oh, this is interesting, let's have a look, what does he think of this? Yep, he thinks that's okay. What does he think of that? Interesting. But it's the time. Like, doing YouTube is a massive time drain, and especially the content that we try to do, which is a little more than your standard mobile phone, shoot a little bit, and upload it straight away. We try to think about what we're doing, put it together, edit it.
Are we all right?
Yes.
Right, so before some more technical issues, we got to
We're good at this.
Channels on YouTube. Obviously, you've answered that. But did you ever expect to get as big as you are now?
Oh no. We kind of, I guess you dare to dream, and I guess because I had success as part of JM on Cars, I think me and JM split when his channel was about the size of what LMM is now. I guess that kind of helped to make that belief happen. You had that kind of idea that it could happen because he had success before. You knew people enjoyed the content I was there, so that was. It wasn't going into it blind. I guess a lot of people who set up on YouTube have got no idea if there's going to be an audience for their stuff, whereas at least I had an idea people would like it. And when we started up and we announced on JM on Cars that we were going live, we went from nothing to 500 subs just off the bank. I started with like 400 and something before the first video came out, and then soon after the first video we went to 500. So that was an amazing way to start and gave a good indication at least people were watching. I think if we'd started off with nothing, I don't know if the channel would have ever got going, because at least we were putting videos out and going, oh, only 200 people watch this. But having 200 people watching and knowing you've got an audience of 200 people who are enjoying your content is enough to keep going. Whereas if you put out a video and 5 people watch it, I can imagine it's a lot harder to try and go and put the time and effort into creating more content. So there was a definite good thing to start off with. But we shot the 2,000 subscriber special in the February of that year. I was down at the railway and had the pump trolley out, and I was like, oh, we'll do this, and I've got an idea for what I want to do for the first. And the guy who was with me was like, why are you doing this? So, well, we might get to 2,000 subs. He said, but you're probably not going to get there, right? You're not going to, it's just a waste of your time shooting this now. So, yeah, well, I'm just trying to hope that it might happen. So the fact that happened so quickly was unexpected, and then the fact that we grew from 2,000 up to about 15,000 in the space of a few months was just incredible, and we have no idea how that happened. And we hoped we'd grow, but we never foresaw that kind of rapid growth. that was never something that was on our agenda. On our we couldn't dream of that, and we got shared by Unilad, like to be picked up and shared by Unilad. We were like, okay, that's quite big. So no, we never dreamt we'd get this big, and we keep kind of daring to hope where it's going to lead up to and how big we're going to get and all the things that's going to potentially allow us to do. Because there's lots of things we want to do that we need to be a little bit bigger to be able to talk to people and start kind of being able to say, can we do a deal with you? We'll show you something if you can help us with this kind of thing. And we're slowly starting to get that area and people starting to know who we are. And it's really nice when we start going to particularly railways to do stuff. If I send people an email to hear back, oh, I know who you are. I really like what you do. Yes, we're interested. Because obviously when I started off, it was like, not really sure about this. Whereas people seem to like what we do, and our kind of reaction towards us and people's opinions of us seems to be, they're idiots, but they're quite nice. It's generally quite positive. People kind of enjoy what we do and kind of being caught up in the adventure. So it's nice producing stuff that people are enjoying, I guess. I've forgotten the question. I've rambled too much.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I guess really, are there any plans to bring out clothing merch?
We've got a small item of clothing at the moment, which you can link to off our YouTube, which is from Teespring. And that's a couple of shirts and a couple of other ideas. We've got some more stuff in the pipeline. It's just, you'd have thought with all this time we'd have actually got around to doing it. We really want to do caps. We've got some designs for shirts we really want to do. So it's all looking for stuff on that. The shirts off Teespring are relatively expensive. We've put it down so that we make, I think, £1 off them. There's a lot of other people out there who make £5, £6, £7, £8 on them. We're trying to do it so that there's very little profit for us on it. It's kind of just trying to get merch out there for people who might enjoy it. It's more we feel that we'd rather you guys have some merch and you can show off the brand and feel like you're part of it than we would get from making a profit from it. The profit of the merch doesn't really matter to us. It's more about trying to give something back to you guys and showing the brand off. We like that idea far more, but they're still quite expensive. But if you guys do want merch, we have shirts, mugs. We sold quite a few mugs, stickers, and there will be more shirts coming up as soon as I've got some more time. We're going to be doing the lots of people have asked for. I have a shirt that is in my defence, I was left unsupervised, so we'll be producing a LMN version of that soon, and there's a couple of other versions of things that will be coming out eventually. But it's all time. We want to try and find somebody a bit like that. It's kind of trying to work out how much demand there is. Like, is it worth going to somebody and getting and actually producing stuff and keeping stuff in stock? But then it's a whole different thing that you've got to work out where people are, send it out yourself. Whereas working through someone like Teespring, it's your name on the logo, but they deal with everything, and so they take a fairly large part of the profits themselves. But at least from our point of view, it's like, well, we don't need to do anything, and we know that they're a good company. They do good quality goods, and it gets sent out without us having to deal with anything. So yes, there will be more merch. We do some merch, and there will be more.
Excellent. Now, there are a lot of people out there that are new starters to YouTube. What advice would you give to bring their YouTube careers to life?
Well, I mean, the way I've done it is slightly unconventional. I can suggest attaching yourself to somebody who builds themselves a highly successful YouTube channel and then splitting for them, taking a percentage of their subscribers with you is a very good way to do. Because that worked very well for me. And I mean, JM on Cars is now rapidly approaching 100,000. He's doing very well. So maybe I should have stayed there. It's hard. It's really hard because there's a lot of people out there producing really, really good content and it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Particularly one of our friends, Matt from Furious Driving, produces fantastic content and he's about the same size of us, and we're sitting there going, he should be a bigger channel. Like what he does and the quality of what he does and his kind of knowledge on the subjects. They're like, yeah, he's brilliant, he should be bigger. And some people that you see who are very big, you come across and go, well, their content is not that good, you know. So it's interesting. It's very much, to get big, a lot of it, there's a lot of hard work. There's an awful lot of hard work for somebody starting off on YouTube. And it's about producing good quality work regularly, chucking out something that is good and enjoyable and not rushing something, taking the time for it, but trying to get something that everyone knows the kind of content you're doing and it's coming out regularly. You know, people don't want to see one super video and then 10 videos that aren't good. That won't grow your channel. And then it's about trying to get lucky, putting something out there that's suddenly going to get picked up on, and that's luck. And we were lucky that the YouTube picked up on the video of me starting a blazer that I found in America, and YouTube picked that up and shared it, and that just went massive. And that's what gave us a lot of our kind of relative success at the moment. So it's luck. And the only other thing I can really say is, if there's somebody you know already doing the content, probably best not to do it unless they're doing a terrible job in your opinion of it, because YouTube's huge and there's a lot of people out there and they do things very, very well. For instance, like there's several people, like I mentioned, Sam Strains, who do reviews on model railway stuff very well. So we've started doing a bit of model railway stuff because we've been indoors and a lot of our audience has been asking for it. But I would never have in a million years thought about starting off doing it because there's lots of other people who do it very well. And so you're going into a crowded market. It's the same as JM on Cars. When he started, he was going into an exceptionally crowded market of people who already do cars and do cars well. And he's done very well with it. It's one of the reasons that we've had some success in the fact that there's nobody kind of doing the content we're doing. There's people who work in garages and repair stuff, but nobody's is just quite as incompetent as we are. And nobody kind of looks at the kind of vehicles that we look at, old vehicles and diggers and fire engines. Nobody seems to look at that in the same kind of thing. The adventures we do and the kind of the specials and the bit, they're a bit of fun. They're quite different from the subject matters that we kind of do. And of course, there is literally nobody out there who does the same railway content as we do. I believe, as far as I'm aware, I'm the only YouTuber so far that actually does a series on reviewing locomotives. I don't think there's anybody else out there. So you've got to find a niche. You've got to find something that you enjoy. There's no point in doing something that you don't enjoy because it'll be absolutely apparent on screen. So there's no point if you're not into cars trying to do a car channel because you think it'll be popular. It's got to be something that you enjoy. It doesn't really matter what it is, but something you enjoy that you could be passionate about, because people will be watching not so much for the content as for you and to see you enjoying something. And then, yeah, it's got to be something interesting and unique. It's quite hard to do something in 2020 that hasn't already been done, but that's the only real way that you're going to move into an industry and do something, if you can bring a new twist to something or do something that hasn't been done before. Because if not, you're just repeating the same old stuff. People have seen it once, they don't want to watch it again, unless you can do it particularly bigger. And being a small YouTuber, unless you come from money from somewhere, you've done well and got money to be able to give yourself amazing production value to start off with, to blow everything out the water, it's not going to happen. So yeah, do something you enjoy. That's the big thing. Do something you enjoy and it will grow. But trying to do something different or have a different spin on it is my best advice.
Excellent.
Because YouTube's evil.
Oh, right. So, Laurie, let's talk trains.
Good. I can talk about trains.
Apart from the Ruston, what loco would you ideally like to own?
I see. That's a bit of a loaded question, really, because I have to think. The big answer to that is, how much money are you giving me alongside my locomotive to own? Because if money is no...
Infinite money, infinite everything, your dream loco.
Honestly, if I had the money to do it, it would be Green Arrow. A Green Arrow, I think, is the just absolutely amazing engine. And Green Arrow is gorgeous. I'd love Green Arrow, but on a more realistic thing, I'd love an Andrew Buckley. Absolutely would adore an Andrew Buckley. I think they're just fantastic, and that would do me very well. And on a completely realistic thing, something like my diesel, so maybe another Ruston, maybe a Hudswell, or something along those. Definitely bigger than my loco, but yeah, smaller than an 08, maybe a Class 20. Something I would certainly like another loco, but to be able to cope with it on your own, it's got to be small. Like anything realistically over the size of an 08, I think you need to have a group involved. And although I've got the rest of my team, they're certainly not railway enthusiasts. So, but yeah. I'd tell you, I've been over to Poland several times and been on the footplate over there, and there are so many locomotives just left derelict over there, which some of them weren't in too bad condition when they were left. So if I had the money, I'd love to go over and do something in Poland and restore steam engines and set up a museum there, because it's kind of the stage, the country's kind of behind us a little bit in preservation. And so you can see all these engines, and for us in the UK to have all these engines still in a salvageable state, just kicking around, would be amazing. But Poland's not really there. Looking back at its railway history, I think they've got 6 or 7 engines currently in the whole country that are in ticket.
Right.
And yeah, and there's a handful of museums, but there's so many things around there. You're like, oh, there's still, and you can watch it falling apart, and you feel maybe in 10 or 20 years' time, when they are gone, people look back on it and go, damn, we should have done something with that. Whereas, in the UK, we've been very lucky with what we've managed to save and the heritage fleet that we've got. And you can kind of see it starting to slip away in Poland and go, oh, you could save this. So, yeah, if I had unlimited money, I think I'd go and try and fiddle with that and try and make something happen over there a bit more and, save some engines.
Laurie.
Still here. Yes.
How would people looking to acquire a loco acquire one?
That's a hard question. So there are a couple of publications that come out somewhat regularly. There's Traction Ads, which is Traction Ads. Just Google it, and that's an online magazine. And then I can't think what the other one is. There's a couple of other advertising sites which have railway vehicles for sale. And so the first Ruston I actually saw for sale, which put me on the way of getting a 48, was on Traction Ads, and I contacted them and agreed to buy it, and then the sale fell through. But my one was just, I was busy sat trying to do a list of where all the Ruston 48s were, and just trying to update this because the last complete list was 15 years out of date. So I thought I'd just go through and try and work out where they all are, because I've been to a couple of railways and asked about buying one. And during the list, I emailed Fordie Hill, which is William McAlpine's private railway, just saying, hello there, I'm doing a project trying to update where all the Ruston 48s are. I don't suppose you've still got yours. If you do, brilliant, what condition it is. If you've sold it, where's it gone? And I got an email back from Sir William going, dear Laurie, thank you very much for getting in contact. Yes, I still have my Ruston. Yes, it's in full working condition. I'd be very interested in a list of what you're doing. Chat. And if in your research you come across anybody who's looking to buy a Ruston 48 DS, I'm looking to dispose of mine. And I believe I was with JM on Cars at the time. And I remember running around the table about 3 times and then having to give JM the email to read because I couldn't quite process the fact that Sir William had just offered me his locomotive to buy. So the answer is you need to be lucky. Realistically, if you're going to buy a locomotive, you need to be part of society already. You need to have a home lined up for it. You have to have a plan. You can't just go out there and then try and find a home for it because it just won't work. I had been, at that point, a volunteer at the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway for over 10 years by the time I bought mine. Yeah. So I'm a well-established member of the railway, known by everybody there. And most people tolerate my presence, if nothing else. And so I've been a driver there for, I think, 3 years. And I've been a fireman before that, obviously, and a cleaner. And I passed out on, everything. I'm a diesel driver and I'm a diesel inspector, in fact, there, and steam driver. So I had talked to the railway beforehand and got the idea that I was looking for a locomotive. Particularly, I wanted a Ruston 48 because I wanted Ruston 48 is what took up the railway in 1952 when it closed. So I quite like the idea of having a Ruston 48 because it's the only diesel that ever ran on the Mid-Suffolk.
Yeah.
Although we did go and look at some other things, and I had looked at quite a few engines with the railway, kind of knowing that that was what I was after. So there needs to be a plan. So you need to know you need to know where it's going, and you need to have some kind of agreement with the railway and an understanding of who's going to look after it, who's going to pay for this, who's going to pay for what, how much the railway is going to charge you to keep it, and how much you're going to charge the railway to use it, or whatever arrangement you're going to make on that.
Yeah.
Particularly about usage, who can touch it, who can't touch it. Before you even think about actually picking an engine up, that kind of discussion needs to take place, and so you've got an idea if it's going there. Then you need to have a quick think about how much it's going to cost to move the thing. Mine is only 7.5 tonnes. So mine is one of the lightest and smallest standard gauge locomotives out there, which means it's exceptionally cheap in railway terms to transport, but moving it anywhere is going to cost north of £1,000 very easily. It cost almost as much as to move my engine home as it did to buy it.
Oh my goodness.
And then if you buy a big engine, obviously that price goes big up. Mine went on the back of a hi-hab. It wasn't a specialist vehicle. As soon as you start going into specialist vehicles, then you're talking big money.
Yeah.
And then you've got to look at what you can actually realistically achieve. I've got a good team of people around me. I've got a lot of friends at the railway, and I'm prepared to put in a lot of the work myself. And I've got some skills. I'm not that skilled, but I have people around who can help with the more challenging aspects. And I've been very lucky, and a massive thanks to the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway and all the volunteers there who have helped out, and particularly John Durrant, Neil and Nigel, who have given so much time towards my locomotive, and to Paul for taking up the workshop for so long. So you have to kind of work out what you can realistically achieve. That's the thing. There's no point going out there because there's lots of big engines available. There's, for instance, there's like Class 60s sitting in scrapyards now, but you've got to realistically know what you can achieve to work on a loco. Like the Ruston is perfect size for one person to look after, but you get much bigger and it becomes a far too big a project, both financially and just in manpower for one person to do it. And so those are things you've got to look at first before you even look at the locomotive to buy. And then like once you actually look at a locomotive, you find one, there's so many things to take into mind as well. Like for instance, mine needs its tyres doing. And we looked at quotes for getting the tyres done. The best quote I could get for new tyres was about £10,000 for 4 wheels. So that's expensive. And that's the kind of running costs. I mean, doing the tyres on something that lives on a little heritage railway won't be something that happens very often. But they're all costs that you've got to kind of take into account. And then, for instance, if the engine breaks or something, you've got to do an engine rebuild. With a vintage engine that the components aren't very readily available, it's a challenge. Yeah. So think long and hard about everything first. Moving on from that, once you've got past that stage, one of the best ways, honestly, is to join a group and be part of it there. That's the best thing I can recommend, or at least make sure you're part of a railway and you've got experience with dealing with engines and people around engines. Yeah. If you're part of a group that owns an engine, you can get involved with it, you can feel part of it. Then you can say, I'm part of the team that owns this, which is very nice. It's not quite as nice as obviously being able to say, that one's mine, but it's nice to be able to say, I am part of this, we own this locomotive together. And obviously with that, you can own much bigger things, like there's the what is it, the trust that owns Sir Nigel Gresley. Are they Sir Nigel Gresley Trust or the A4 Trust? Doesn't matter. Yeah, you can be part of the, say, that trust that owns that, or there's the Standard 4 Trust at the Norfolk, or even the Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway at the Norfolk Railway, which owns the locomotives there, so becoming part of the society there. And there's lots of private groups for lots of locomotives that you can become part of and become part of that. And so the best way really to find the locomotives is you need to be part of the railway community. You need to be really involved in it. It's not really something that works for people who aren't involved, because meeting people and being part of it and being an active part of the community means that you meet people, you talk to people, and you find out about things. Yeah, being a locomotive owner and being relatively well known in the railway community, I get regular people coming to me and go, oh, I know of this for sale, are you interested? And I'm like, I would be if I had money and space, but at the moment, no. So yeah, I've had 3 or 4 locomotives, people have private messaged me saying, I'm selling my loco, are you interested? So it's being in the community is the big thing for how to buy an engine. You need to be in the community, you need to be active in the community, and you'll just find things. And honestly, 90% of it is luck. Finding a locomotive for sale is luck. Although my friend did buy the Polish TKP, which is the big 080 at the Nene Valley, which was on eBay. Oh. So things do. Oh no, I did see a Ruston 165 on eBay as well. So eBay occasionally. But wow. It's weird. And thinking of it more. Owning like a classic vehicle, like a classic car or something, it's very definitely yours. And you can hop in it and go for a drive whenever you feel like it. Even at a railway like the Mid-Suffolk, which is a very nice and it's a really nice community there, I still can't turn up and just take my Ruston out for a drive. If it's out or something, I can be like, yeah, sure, do you mind if I take it for a couple of trips? And I can communicate with them and say, hello, do you mind if I come along on such and such and just take it for a couple of trips up and down? And we can arrange something. But you will need at least the driver, so me, I need a second man to operate it, and then you need a RO, a responsible officer, a person in charge of the railway, to open the railway. So you need a minimum of 3 people just for me to have a jolly. And I will turn up at the railway on many occasions and see my Ruston out doing shunting work. I don't get told that it's out; it's just working. So it's a very different relationship that you have to get used to owning a locomotive. It's,
the fact that people are going to touch your engine, that people are going to...
and people, they're going to use it, they're going to work it, and people may things may happen with it. So it's interesting. Basically, you've bought something for other people to enjoy, and you've got to be able to accept the fact that the knowledge that, because honestly, one of the best things for me is when I turn up the railway and I see it in use, I just watch it trundling up and down, go, yeah, she's mine. Look at it go. Honestly, that's fantastic. But you've got to have that mindset that other people are going to use it and other people are going to touch it, and that you won't be able to play with it whenever you want to play with it, especially on a bigger railway. So,
Perfect. So roughly, well, we've seen a lot of locos on Laurie Goes Loco. How many locos roughly have you driven or rode on the footplate on?
Oh God, that's many. I have been part of railways since my early teens, before I could drive.
Oh my goodness.
I was a young volunteer at Bressingham, so I footplated a lot at Bressingham. Then I dropped out of the hobby for a bit, late high school to sixth form, and then I got involved with the traction engine and on the traction engine scene. So I did quite a bit on traction engines. And then once I could drive, I went to a show where the crew from Mid Suffolk were crewing an engine at the Weeting Steam Rally in Norfolk, near Thetford. Near Thetford? I think it's near Thetford. Anyway, and I got on the footplate there. So regularly at the moment, I crew. I've got 3 steam engines in the MIDI, 3 at the East Anglian Railway Museum, 3 based at the Neem Valley at the moment, so that's 9, plus the 1 steam engine at Tinkers Park, 10, Syraphyte, which lives at the Long Shop, 3 more diesels at the MIDI, 7 more diesels at the Great Bush Railway, and I don't touch the diesels at East Anglian Railway Museum or Neem Valley at the moment. So on a regular basis, there's like 20 engines-ish available to me to go and have a go with, not including the stuff that kind of visits. Cause, I've had a go. I fired Tornado. I fired the Royal Scot. Are some of the big ones that I've managed to get a play on. I've been on the footplate a lot in Poland. I've been on 6 or 7 engines over in Poland. I've fired and driven engines in New Zealand. I've been on the footplate in China. I've been on the footplate in Botswana. I have a very much lost count now. And then we've had visiting engines to the MIDI. We've had visiting engines to, lots.
So you mentioned. Try that again. Voice break. Love it. So you mentioned that you started working on the railway in your teens.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first loco you ever drove?
Oh, that's. I actually genuinely believe it's Thomas the Tank Engine.
Do you, really?
We had Thomas visiting the Bressingham when I was part of Bressingham, and I believe at that time it was number 54 from Bressingham. That is the Thomas. And right. I was volunteering there. I went for a ride with a driver that I was quite friendly with, who I often went out on the narrow gauge with. And he went, right, here's the regulator, you can drive it back. And so I think, which he totally shouldn't have done, because I was like, I don't know, 14 at the time, 14, 15. But yeah, I think it was, I can't remember, the tragic thing is I honestly can't remember which engine it was, which Thomas it was just one of the Thomases. Apart from that, around the same time, I got to drive Bronclwyth at Bressingham. So I'm pretty sure it's Bronclwyth or Thomas, one of the Thomases.
Right.
That's the first one, at least I think I drove. Did I Bronclwyth? I ended up managing to drive quite a few things at Bressingham as well.
Excellent. So next one's got to be a bit of a quick fire round.
Cool.
So let's talk cars.
Yep.
What are your favourites?
That's a long list. That's a very long list. If
you had to pick three.
Okay, the MR2 is definitely one of my favourites. In fact, it's probably the MR2, the Lotus Elite, that I absolutely adore. The Lotus Elite. And
excellent.
Just trying to think what, if off the top of my head. Actually, MGB GT.
Nice.
Absolutely. I love the MGB GT. I think that's gorgeous.
So, what was your first car?
So my first car, me and two other mates, three of us, bought a Austin Mini Metro off one of my mum's friends who was going to scrap it, and we knew somewhere where we had some private land, and we took it up and had it on the private land, and all three of us learnt to drive on this car, and it was terrible. I mean, the Austin Mini Metro is not a particularly good car at the best of times, and our example was, how do you say, quite tired. In fact, it was exceptionally tired. We had to change the wheel once because it got a puncture. We jacked it up on the jacking point and it corroded around it, so it fell down. Tried again in a different place, that fell apart. Tried a third time, that fell apart. On the fourth time of trying to lift the car up, it held long enough for us to get the wheel off, but the force of pushing the new wheel onto it caused the subframe to give up again. The wheel stayed on, but it was a very rotten car. And we owned it for maybe a year before we all took our driving tests, and we all passed first time. And then we were hugely popular at sixth form because we could take people from sixth form along and give them a driving lesson for free in our car and show them how to drive. So that was the first car we had, and sadly that got scrapped. That was kind of, it stopped running, and we just didn't have the knowledge all the time at the time to do anything with it. So we took it apart, fixed a couple of things on it, and it still just didn't want to run. So that was the end of that. Which was a shame, but I'm sad that we scrapped it, but it was so rotten. It just, I know a lot of my projects are not really cost effective, but that one that would need a massive amount to weld into the subframe to get it back to the road legal. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first car, and then my second car was my 106 that I still have.
Oh, excellent.
So I out of my car history, I still have everything that I've bought, minus my first MR2's now been scrapped. I bought a Saab to do the scrappage rally with JM on Cars, where we went to Prague and back. I bought a Saab for that. It did the trip, and I went, it's a lovely car. It's got an engine warning light on. Researched it. It was the oil pressure sensor starts leaking, and then it leaks engine oil. Had a look underneath. Yep, it was that was leaking. Took it home, replaced that. Went, it's just done a couple of 1,000 miles. Let's give it a service, and it never started again. I don't know what I did during the service, but it just would never fire up again after that. So that got scrapped, and me and JM on Cars owned a MG ZS 180 for a while, and we sold that. Apart from that, everything else that I've bought, I still have. So yeah.
Excellent. So, how long exactly have you been driving?
How old are you when you can pass your test? Is it 17? Because or is that when you can do a provisional? Yeah, I drove for my mum organised me my provisional licence for my birthday on whatever year you could do that, and I drove around with her for about 6 months before I took my test. I did a few lessons, like 10 lessons, to actually learn how to drive to pass your test versus how to drive with your mum, which are two very, very different things for the record. But I mean, I drove to Ireland and drove around Ireland before I had a licence with mum, like, you know, with L plates on the car as provisional, and then passed my test first time. So I've been driving for over 10 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like 13 years. And then I got my HGV licence about 4 years ago, I think now.
Oh.
4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
So the real question, the most important question on this list.
Oh God.
Cars or trains? We're dividing the masses now.
The question is loaded. And it depends on what you're asking. For what do I prefer as an enthusiast? Trains. I'm a train enthusiast first and foremost. Particularly, I'm a steam enthusiast. I love steam engines. I've been all over the world, all over the country to look at steam engines, and I love being on the footplate. I don't think there is anything, honestly, that I have quite as much enjoyment out of as being on the steam engine and crewing steam engine. I don't think there's any better sensation than after a day of firing when you know you've absolutely nailed it. You've had steam all day, you've not blown off, there's not been any ooh-ah moments when you're a bit low of water or low on power, or you've had to say to the driver, just back off a second, I'm struggling. There is nothing as good as getting off an engine and knowing you've nailed it, like absolutely spot on day. And you get back to the car and you've got a lot of adrenaline and kind of excitement. You get back to the car and you go, oh, and it's honestly, it's the best thing. In terms of what I'd rather go on a journey in, car. I would rather go and drive somewhere than I would go on a train. The car is the superior way to get around. The train is not. I'd much rather have the freedom to be able to go when I want to go, and also to go, oh, that looks pretty over there, I'm going to go this way, rather than the train. So yeah, I'm a railway enthusiast, but the car is the superior form of transport.
Excellent. That's a good answer.
Well, some people I know who go everywhere by rail. I'm like, how do you live going everywhere by rail? I can't do it. I like driving.
Yeah, I like driving as well. In my Seat Ibiza, it's yellow in quotation marks. It's actually green.
Nice.
Anyway, let's take life outside of YouTube now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get recognised out and about? Does anyone ever come up to you and go, "You're Laurie from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels"?
Yes, it happened a couple of times when I was part of JM's channel. People recognised me from that, which was really cool because I was like a minor piece of his channel. But we went to kind of shows and events, particularly Lotus events, and people would recognise the two of us from that. Most people would recognise James, but a couple of people would be, oh, you're Laurie, aren't you? And that was really cool because that was really early days. And so far, every time I've gone to a heritage railway, I've been recognised by somebody. Somebody's come up and said, oh, you're Laurie, I watch your videos. Or if I don't get it at the time, somebody then will put a comment on the video afterwards and be like, I'm sure I saw you that day. Yeah, I definitely saw you. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I've been... It happens a bit. It happens a bit. There's not been any random stops in the street yet. But we're going to be doing more kind of events, more meet-up things anyway, as once we can go outside. So I guess that's going to be a bit more of a thing. But in the right environment, I've been recognised.
Excellent. So I know from personal experience that if you're a train enthusiast, kind of all of that. Well, personally, I don't play or watch any sports. I'd much rather go and watch trains and stuff like that. So, do you play or watch any sports?
No, never been interested. I had a big argument in high school with my teacher on sports day that I bought in the Game Boy and was playing games on the Game Boy. And she went, well, it's not very sporting. I went, electronic gaming's a thing, miss. It's becoming a bigger thing. I'm taking part in this. And that's basically my relationship with sports. As you can see, I'm not exactly skinny. No. My job driving involves a lot of lifting stuff and loading stuff and picking stuff up and offloading. So I kind of get my share of physical activity there. So I don't particularly want to do sport after. I've never been particularly sporty. I'm pretty strong. I'm pretty well built. And if I was going to do any sport, I'd want to take part in it. I'd have no interest in watching. I've been to the football a few times. My mum's a supporter, my brother's a supporter of our local town. But no, I'm not particularly interested in myself. No, not at all. I mean, online stuff, yeah, sure, I take part in online games because that's definitely a sport now. And we do, on Wednesdays at the moment, we do a Wreckfest, which is open to fans of our community to come in, have a chat with us, be part of it, and play that. So that's definitely a sport. That's the best sport. And Jeffrey on Mondays races in a online racing league, And that's very definitely a sport. Like, they are very committed to that. He is trying to be very serious, and as you can imagine, I am not helpful towards that in any ways. But that's on Twitch that we stream.
So, last one. One piece of advice for people.
For life? Actually, I'll give you this, guys, and this is honestly how I work on my life. 'Cause as fans of the channel, and if any of you guys haven't checked out the channel and want to see it, you'll see that I have a very eclectic collection, and definitely am going about life in a very different way to most people. And a lot of this comes from a friend of mine out in Poland. He said that nobody on their deathbed says, I wish I'd worked more. Everybody is always saying, I wish I'd spent more time with my families. I wish I took that trip. I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. And so don't be that person. Don't be the person who regrets stuff. If there's something you want to do, go and do it. There's always going to be an opportunity to earn more money. There will always be a way to earn more money. You might not be doing something you want to do, but if there's something you want to go and do, or something you want to buy, don't put it off. Go and make it happen. I mean, obviously don't make yourself into don't push yourself into masses of debt or something, but if you can do it, make it happen. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know. My girlfriend at the time, when I bought Jupiter, my fire engine, said, why are you doing this now? Like, you could do it when you're retired and then you could spend all your time on it. I went, but I don't know if I'm going to make it to retirement age. I hope I do, but I don't know. And also, that's like 40 years in the future. I'd rather have my fire engine now and have 40 years worth of enjoyment out of it now, rather than a few years at the end of the line. So yeah, guys, don't make excuses for stuff. You've got one chance at doing this. You've got one chance at having fun and having a good life. If there's something you're passionate about and something you enjoy doing, just go do it. Don't cause harm to other people. Don't be bad. But if there's something you want to do, go do it. Don't be bothered what other people say. You'll find people in whatever community that you want to be part of that will embrace and support what you like. And with the internet these days, it's so much easier to find like-minded people. Whether you're into model trains, Lego Technic, cars, flying kites, it doesn't matter. But go out there and do it. Life's too short.
Wow. Wise words from a questionably wise man.
Wise words from an idiot.
Anyway, so I'll put Laurie's link in the description for Laurie Goes Loco, all of his social medias as well. I just totally suggest that you go out and watch them, because they're far more interesting than any of my content. But if you do want to subscribe to me as well, subscribe. We're welcome to new people. We've just ticked over 5,000 subscribers. So thank you for that. And also go to Laurie's Patreon. The stuff that he does is all down to you guys.
Yeah,
all the funding that he gets is from you guys.
Lots of people seem to be onto this idea that YouTube makes money. YouTube doesn't make a lot of money. We are very dependent on our Patreons for helping to allow us to do what we do and expanding what we can do on the channel. Because shooting a video costs quite a bit of money when you consider like the time, the effort, the money, the fuel going somewhere, and it doesn't make it back. So the Patreon really helps us to do it. And at the moment, we've got quite a few of them, and our Patreon is $1. That's it. There are no tiers. It's $1, and you get access to our behind-the-scenes content, a podcast, and other stuff from us guys. So if you do consider, that'd be lovely. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Right. So, thank you, Laurie, for coming on.
Oh, thank you very much for having us.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Been nice to have a natter.
Most definitely. So, guys, if you like this video, like, subscribe, and leave a cheeky comment. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.